Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
And inspire you to do even greater things.
Before we jump into today's conversation, a special thanks to PM Power Consulting for encouraging and supporting this show right from the start. With over 1,000 person-years of collective experience, PM Power has helped many organizations, teams, and individuals chart out their own journeys of excellence and make progress. Thank you, PM Power. Now, let's move to today's episode. In this episode, I am in conversation with Rajesh Sharma, co-founder and chief product officer of ProHance. Rajesh covers a lot of ground, starting from his move from public sector to a SaaS founder. Rajesh describes his path from a modest middle-class upbringing in Shimla and being a mechanical engineer, taking a stable career at HPCL, and then a major career reset into software after quitting his public sector job to take an IBM course and restarting as a trainee. He later co-founded JaMocha Tech, now ProHance, with co-founder Kishore Reddy in 2009, backed early by angel investor Sudhir Sharma, aiming to build a world-class software product from India. After experimenting with multiple products and learning that market feedback matters more than expert opinions, they focused on ProHance, a horizontal work visibility and effectiveness platform, which now has more than 250 customers in 23 countries. And the team has also grown to over 200 employees, along with a private equity investor. He emphasizes the importance of complementary co-founders, supportive family, direct founder-customer feedback loops, profitability and frugality, outcome ownership, and adopting AI internally and in the product that is being built. A lot of experience nuggets that he has shared. Listen on. Hi, Rajesh. Welcome to the Software People Stories.
Thank you very much, Shiv. Really grateful for being part of this initiative of bringing in leaders and people from other walks of life and having them share their experiences with a larger audience. And I'm grateful that I'm also part of this today.
Yeah, I mean, these stories of people is what has been very useful for our audience. And I also like that. One, it gets me to connect to people with interesting backgrounds, people who have done a lot of things. And in fact, the first time when we met and you shared briefly your background and how you got into IT, I said, wow, that is fascinating. So let's start with that story, your origin story, how you grew up, what you do, your association with IT and what you've been doing. And then we will take it from there.
Sure, Shiv. So, see, if you had met me, say, around 20, 25 years back, you would have never thought I'll become an entrepreneur. So I had a steady, typical career like any other person going on. I come from a modest, humble, middle-class family, a small town which has no exposure to any startups. So in a nutshell, if I were to say what has brought me here is not really brilliance or intelligence. I think it's just the courage to take one uncomfortable step at a time and just go ahead. So my life has been defined by typically 3, 4 very difficult, uncomfortable steps at that time, but those have shaped my life looking back from now on.
Yeah, you've now triggered my curiosity a lot. Okay. So when you said 25 years ago, you wouldn't have thought of being an entrepreneur. So what were you doing before that? And then what was the trigger?
So actually, I'm from Shimla is my hometown, a small town. which even now continues to be a small town far away from IT. In fact, just to let you know how small it is, see, from Shimla, I went to Jaipur for my engineering. So I've done engineering from MNIT Jaipur, which was MREC then. So when I went to Jaipur, I didn't know cycling, and people in who are in the plains in there, for them cycling is like equivalent of walking. So when they saw that you don't even know how to cycle, they were very in a way befuddled that how can a person not know cycling? But Shimla is a place where you can't cycle. So that was the big gap or a difference from where I came in. And from Jaipur, after doing my engineering, my first job was in Mumbai. So, I've been gradually moving southward, Shimla, Jaipur, Mumbai, finally in Bangalore. So I started my career from the public sector, Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited. And there used to be all India level tests, that time entry tests. In Himachal, there were not really too many engineering jobs. So I did that, got an opportunity to work in HPCL, posted in Mumbai. And HPCL was all about petroleum, chemicals, right? Supply, distribution, that sort of job I was doing. And in HPCL, you get transferred after a few years. They transferred me from Mumbai to Bangalore in 95. And that's how I happened to come to Bangalore. I mean, no planning, never thought I'll be here, but they sent me to Bangalore. And when I came to Bangalore initially at that time, it took me a few years to get adjusted because Mumbai was, the hustling, bustling megapolis where even if you travel in the night, you won't get a seat in the train. And here I came to Bangalore at that time when IT was not there. And 8 o'clock, 7:30, things will close down. Distances are very small. So initially I thought, oh, where have I landed? What has happened? It took me some time to adjust. But then as I stayed there closer to 2000, I saw the entire big change like a wave. Like currently there's a AI wave coming. That time there was a IT wave coming and Bangalore was right in the center of it. If you go around, you'll find a lot of boards saying learn C++, Java in 30 days, 40 days, all that was going on. So I thought, and with the job of HPCL, it was a good, steady job, but there was not much sense of accomplishment there. There was a little bit of restlessness in what you do in large organizations. So I looked around and I saw a transformation happening, and I told myself, see, I have nothing to do with Bangalore, but some higher power has brought me to Bangalore. Second, when I came to Bangalore, it was a small city town, but now it's transforming and I can see something in IT going on here, and Bangalore is right in the center of it. So I took it like a good omen or a sign from God telling me that, I have put you somewhere there. Now you have to do the rest. So it's like taking the horse to the water. So I then took that first or one of my major uncomfortable steps at that time, a courageous but uncomfortable step of leaving my job, of stable job. I was 12 years, I had my career that time. I resigned from there, and there was a full-time software engineering course being conducted by IBM, and it was in person. So I joined that, so left my job. And while I say courageous is because in HPCL, Hindustan Petroleum Corporation, your entry job is only at the beginning. They hire only trainee freshers. So you can't go back to the job. There is no lateral hiring. Not even the CNMD CEO is hired from outside. So for me, now it was like the back door is closed. You can't go back. There is only one way forward. And that's how the transformation from my non-IT job, which was supply distribution of petroleum products, moved into IT, which is software programming. So I learned these programming languages, database, etc. And then got a job and restarted my career as a trainee. So in 1998, I was a trainee, officer trainee, as they call in HPCL. And in 2001, I was a trainee software engineer back. So the career restarted. But it was one of those wonderful steps which I took in life because it gave me a very different direction in life. And it's instrumental in bringing me to this place. So did a few jobs initially in different organizations, Network Solutions, IDS, JSoft. And then around 2009 is when took the next big leap or the biggest uncomfortable decision, as you would call it, of starting my own organization called JaMocha Tech. Now it's called ProHance, with my co-founder Kishore Reddy, who's still with me. And I would say he's the one who pushed me to do it. But once we started, we were full steam on it. And the second person I would acknowledge here, because of whom we started, is our angel investor, Sudhir Sharma. So in fact, Sudhir is a very successful entrepreneur, somebody who, we influenced us and inspired us. So he was the CEO and owner of a company called Network Solutions in Bangalore. And Network Solutions got acquired by initially partially by Intel when they started their operations in Bangalore. So they acquired the entire software division of Network Solutions. That's how Intel started in Bangalore around year 2000. In 2005, the company by IBM. So he backed us, showed the confidence and comfort in us to get started. And that's how on January 2nd, 2009, we started this organization with just, I think, one thought in mind, or one vision or mission in mind, is build a world-class software product out of India. And that's what we had. But we had no long-term plans. We didn't know what product we'll build. But we had the confidence that we'll do something of our own, because earlier exposure into IT was all about building products and being in front of customers. And very similar career is of my co-founder, Kishore. So we both, again, divine intervention, two people who didn't know each other, who he had also left his earlier job, I left my earlier job, happened to meet somewhere, and then started our entrepreneur journey. First IT career, and then entrepreneur journey together. And after 17 years, here we are with ProHance, having close to $20 million ARR, 250 plus customers across 23 countries. Already private equity investor Chris Cap has already invested around 2 years back, taken a majority stake. And we have a large team of 200 plus with offices in US, Philippines, and of course in India. So that in a nutshell is my journey, with few steps in between directional changes, which has brought me here.
Yeah, wonderful. So rewinding a little bit, in HPCL, did you have a customer-facing role, or was it more of a office role?
So it was an office role. In fact, it was all about doing some internal projects, planning on internal projects for building infrastructure on petroleum products, on storage, etc. And because I'm a mechanical engineer, more in line with engineering and a little bit of planning. So I was in corporate planning and then supply distribution in Bangalore in the regional office. So it had nothing to do with customers. It was totally internal facing. And that's why I said I'm myself surprised that what turn my life has taken. But the thing is, once you take a step, that first step is the most difficult one. But once you take it, then the going gets easier after that.
Yeah, you mentioned a few names like Kishore and Sudhir. So how important is having a network or having a team, at least the initial stages when you have a dream of starting something?
I think team is the number one important thing which you need in life. You need some few partners who will be accompanying you in your journey, who will go along with you, and who need to be a little bit different than you are. So they need to be complementary. Important is the vision, the destination is same, but the way you think about it has to be very different. So my co-founder Kishore is a very different person. I'm more of a cool and calm, like a coolant sort of person. He's more of a fast initiative taking, getting ideas. I can execute ideas better. He gets ideas. I can take it forward. So we both complemented each other, but our mission was same. Our destination was same. Values have to be very same. That's very important. To start any entrepreneur journey, very important that you have at least one co-founder or two, but not more than two. Too big a team also becomes very difficult. And you need somebody who will believe in you more than you believe in yourselves. So initially, Sudhir, who funded us, told us, I know you guys, you've done a fantastic job in my company where we worked as employees. Of course, his company got acquired by Intel IBM, but we were just employees there. So he had done it and he said, I've seen the fantastic work you have done. You will do a great job. So that is also important. And again, in our journey in ProHance, around 5, 6 years down the line, when we had done that, me and Kishore had done that initial 0 to 1 phase. Typically, they say bringing the company to 1 million ARR with some around 10, 15 marquee strategic customers, done the market fit. Then you need to bring somebody else who can now take your journey to the next level. And we were lucky to get from the industry a very senior person called Ankur Dhingra. And again, he believed much more in our idea, and the scale which he brought was very different. And he took us to that level. So having a team, different people in your life, and the type of people we had initially when we started our company, people who believed in our idea blindly just came with, is very important. You will never be able to do it alone. You need to have a team backing with you. But as you move forward in life, you need to ensure that you take care of the team, because they have been always part of you. They've always given you that comfort and freedom to execute your ideas.
So in this, since you also mentioned that this was an uncomfortable step, and then from being a graduate trainee to a software trainee and all that, that kind of a shift is one thing. And jumping into being an entrepreneur, what about the support from family?
So that's, I think, another important thing is that when you move into entrepreneurship, there are already so many pressures and uncertainties around that you need to ensure that certain external things are taken care of. So in my case, my wife was very supportive. It also helped that she was working. So that support really helped me take this decision, because then I didn't have that pressure of convincing somebody at home, or when you go home and somebody questioning what you're doing, why you're doing. So that also is important. So ensure that when you start a journey like a startup journey, which I would actually urge everyone to try it out, to take care of all the other ecosystem around you. So don't have an unstable ecosystem other than your startup, because if you're on shaky ground on too many fronts, then it will be very difficult for you to execute. As it is, a startup itself is fraught with too many uncertainties. Success rates are low. So just try and spend a little bit of time and ensure that people around you are supportive. So I was very supported by my wife very well. I have an elder brother, Dinesh, who was also in IT, but now retired and doing a farmhouse in Himachal. And he's been a guiding light in my life. So you need these people, and then once you believe in these people, you need to go by what they say. Don't question some of the advice which they give. It is obviously uncomfortable advice which you may not like, but you have to trust and go by what these close people to you are saying, whom you trust, but not the general ecosystem. See, there were too many people when I started who questioned leaving a 12-year-old stable public sector and come, and you are now doing software engineer. You're already in your close to mid 30s. So it's easy to say you will do it, but very difficult to do it. So there are too many people saying can't be done. So one, you have to be convinced. So the power of your internal belief, and second, your trusted ecosystem around you. For me, it was my co-founder Kishore, Sudhir, our angel investor, my wife, and my elder brother. So what they said, and when they said, just go ahead, it was good enough for me. And of course, I had my internal conviction.
So with all this support, when you jumped in, and you did mention something about finding the product market fit. So how did you go about it? Did you try to look at the market and find the space where you can fit in, or did you have an idea of a product and then wanted to validate that?
Right, Shiv. So what I've seen is, I feel in my mind, planning or long-term planning is overrated. So people do too much planning sometimes, and that also leads what they say, paralysis or thinking too much. See, I'm of the view that one taking few small steps. So I use the analogy, when you start, it's like you're walking in the dark and you have a torch in hand. It just tells you the next two steps ahead. Only you can see. Beyond that is dark. Now, what is beyond that? To see that, you have to take two more steps. You take two more steps, the next two steps become visible. So that's how your life in general is, and more so in a startup. So, like I said, when we started, we knew that we will be creating a product company, and that's why the mission statement that we'll build a world-class software product out of India. Because India is not really known for products, more services. But our background was in making products only, and that's where we were lucky. So me and Kishore, when we said we can build products for other companies, why can't we do it for ourselves? That was the confidence.
Yeah.
Now, what product we'll build, where we said we'll figure out, I think we have the intelligence and the experience of figuring out what has to be done. And it's always the market and the customers will teach you what needs to be done. So when we started the company, we first started with a product which was very similar to what we had done in network solutions, basically network infrastructure management. And why we started is because it was something comfortable, known, and we knew it, so we could quickly get going on that. But after doing this, one, we realized it was not really exciting enough for us. It was something which we had already done. And second, it was an overcrowded field. Already there were large products, and we were far behind the game. So we, in a way, did that just to get started, got a few customers. It made the startup, we could set it up, doing something comfortable. Then in parallel, we started two more products, which were in very different areas. And again, the need for one of the product came from a large company who said they don't have a product which their competitors have, which was power management of your VoIP phones and desktops. And this was a company, and they said, we need a product. If you can build, it will be your IP. We'll help you sell it.
Okay.
It was a product, very good idea. Everybody clapped. Everybody said it's a great thing. But somehow it didn't work in the market. Nobody was willing to pay for it. After doing some 30, 40 pilots, people said, oh, wow, it's great. But the money wasn't there. From pilot, when you want to move to production, nobody wanted to really come forward and place a purchase order. So in parallel, there was this ProHance, which is our current product, was going on. And that came from basically initial thinking of this was a need which we had felt when we were team managers and leading teams, is that having visibility on what people are doing and how to make them more effective and efficient at work.
Yeah.
And we knew there were a lot of manual things which people put in place. There are timesheets, people do reviews, so many things are done. And we had seen that they never worked. The outcome from there is not good because the data itself is questionable of what you're getting. So I said, how do we automate that and bring visibility around it so that the data integrity is not questionable? And second is, people don't have to gather data on what people are doing, how are they working. Can we automate that? So there was already a need, and we started developing on that, talked to a few customers who said, yes, this is a problem. But here again, most of our, what we can call advisors or people who were industry leaders, really didn't like the idea too much. So between the first product, the power management, the first one was given preference. This was like a given little bit of a stepmotherly attitude by different people. But our conviction was there, and we continued to build, spoke to few customers, and gradually we found ProHance is the one where customers are more interested. And we also got initially some 3-4 paying customers, small payments, but they started paying for it.
Okay.
So once it became clear, what is the direction of the organization? Here is one, people are saying, great, but no business coming, something which others don't think too much, but we like it as co-founders. But business, but customers saying, I want to try it out, and they are willing to pay also. And that's how the ProHance journey started. And we said, now this is the product we are going to continue. We had our internal conviction, and the market feedback initially was good enough for us to launch fully into this product and give up everything else. So that's how it all started. And the lesson for me here is that nobody knows what is going to be successful. There are a lot of people who have experience, who will tell you things, not that they'll be deliberately telling you wrong, but the reality is nobody knows how the market will react, what will happen with what you're doing. Only way to know it is try it out and get the feedback from the market. Marketer or the business is going to teach you how you want to move forward.
One kind of related thing is when you talked about the networking kind of solution, that is probably more domain intense, or you needed to know that. Whereas something like ProHance is more of a horizontal that can apply across multiple domains. My understanding right?
That's true. ProHance is like across verticals. In any vertical, it can be set up.
Yeah. So in that case, when you have to propose this or pitch this to an organization, earlier, if it is a networking solution, probably there will be networking experts on the other side who will be talking and will be deciding. Whereas here, when you have to go and then connect with customers in different domains, now how do you understand their pain points and then map where your product or your solution will add value?
Right. So great question, Shiv. So here I will say one thing which helped is my and my co-founders' background, the non-IT background really helped.
Okay.
Because before becoming developers, I was from, like I told you, a different background. And my co-founder is actually a MBBS doctor. And he gave up his earlier profession after working few years because of certain personal reasons, and then moved to IT. So we both had a significant non-IT background before we went into IT. And one of the things I find in IT is that the people who are on the developer or the technical side, one, they don't have exposure on the business side. Second, they don't really think too much about that. They are more very happy, comfortable in their technical environment, and somewhere think the business environment is for somebody else. On the other side, the business folks don't know much about technology, so they remain away from it, and they're they keep themselves on the business side only. But here were two people, me and my co-founder Kishore, who could think of both the sides because of the exposure we had. So when we did development, we were not thinking of doing it something like a technical or doing some coding, building charts, right? Building a report. We were thinking always from business angle, how would they get a value out of it? And that is the reason why me and Kishore, we had a lot of people who started their careers with us IT, but we both ventured into entrepreneurship, started a startup is because we always thought of business and technology from a different angle. We always thought of it from the customer angle, from the business angle. What does it solve? What pain problem does it solve? For whom does it solve? How big is it a problem? Who will validate it? So we had this, I think, earlier exposure, which gave us the courage, or rather the confidence to be in front of customers. We also had a little bit of what you can say, I would say intelligence or foresight to listen to customer and be able to translate it back into technology. So this cross thinking of being a developer, building the product, being able to think from the customer angle, and when the customer tells something, being able to translate it and put it in technology is what helped us and made us move forward. And because we had this confidence and exposure, we were never shy of being in front of the customer. So we were not like typical technology people who don't want to talk to customer or want to be away from it. So we were always thick with the customers. And ProHance was a generic idea and born more out of our experience earlier on what problem to be solved. So we could very well talk about it in front of the customers also, though it had nothing to do with technology and or any specific domain.
Another thing is when you want to build a product, from a software development approach perspective, there are some decisions that you will need to take which are for the longer run. Not necessarily about just one feature, but how they all come together, how you're going to scale, for instance, some of the what we call as the non-technical requirements. Right? When you said you would build a product, most of the schools teach only software development from, let's say, an individual's perspective, or maybe some small projects. Many companies also who are in the service business work differently. But to build a product, and how did you gather the team that had a product thinking orientation? And when it came to deciding on which technologies to use, how did that play out?
So to tell you the truth, Jim, these are not easy answers, and we also committed a lot of mistakes. We didn't take the right decision many times. We had to do rework, go back, but that's all part of the journey, part of the learning is there. So like you said, yes, product requires a very different thinking. And of course, our earlier exposure helped because all the previous companies in the IT where I worked and Kishore worked, we were always building products, being in front of the only. So few things which we did as a product, and product requires you to take a little bit of a risk from your side, because you have to now think of the problem, architect it, and go back to the customer and tell him, see how it will solve the product. But that is what we had been always doing. Now, what we did is, first thing, building a product does not, or product idea or architecting does not require a big team. Not more than 2 to 3 people will always be contributing on your product idea. Building would be done by a big team. Even if you go for large organizations, go to Apple, Microsoft, the real vision of the product, the architecture of the product, the direction is decided by a smaller team, which has that foresight and execution is done. So that is what me co-founder was there, and we had another senior member who came with us. So we had between us that experience of building products. Second, the technology, to tell you the truth, we started building on what we were comfortable on, and that was Java. So we had always been Java developers. Java had been good enough. So that's what we started with it. Has it really helped to a large extent? Yes. But now, as you see, the technology changes fast. Now many things have got outdated, new things are coming. So the product will always have its own life cycle. So my, again, experience shows, one, don't overthink things and be ready for changes, pivots around the way as the market teaches you and the journey unfolds. So start with what you know. Build a small thing. So you need to build not really some huge product in front of you. Build a MVP which is good enough, which can be shown to the customer, which people can use, touch and use. It may not be the ultimate one, but it cannot be just a demo or a dummy PPT or some sort of templates put in there. People react to when they see. If you ask somebody for inputs and you just show them some ideas, tell them or show them some PPTs, people will not react. People can react and give you meaningful feedback only when they use it. So we build that initial, use the technology, whatever we knew at that time, started building the product, going to few customers who had that need. Some people were known to us. They used it. They started giving us feedback. So mixing that with what we knew is how this all started. And as you move forward, the market now starts, taking you forward. It's like you are in the midst of a wave. The wave is now deciding in which direction you want to move. You have to just align yourself accordingly. but you have to be the first one to jump in and get going. So that's how it all started. And I think one month after another, one customer after another taught us what needs to be done. But what we did is we had that foresight and intelligence to listen to customers and build it in a generic manner, not for that customer, but keeping in mind that tomorrow it's going to be used by tens and hundreds of customers. How do you make it generic through giving certain flexibilities, settings, etc., so that people can use it or companies can use it in multiple different ways?
You talked about the importance of feedback and customers giving you feedback. So what is the mechanism in ProHance for this feedback to actually go to the developers?
So I'll talk about the initial phase, the 0 to 1 phase, which is the most difficult one, where the product market fit is being decided. And see, in that phase, if there are companies, my advice to them is that the co-founders or the seniors need to be in front of the customers. One, you need to be hands-on. You cannot delegate this to somebody else. You have to be first hand in front of the customers and be listening from them and understanding what's happening. Because it is your idea, you have put your career or life on the line. You need to ensure that the most important part, which is not building the product, but being in front of the customer, is being done by you. So we initially, what we did is we were the ones who used to deploy the product in the customer base, not any other small team member or junior. Me and my co-founder would go and install and implement the product, showcase to the customer, give them that, in a way, technical or functional support. And that is, we were getting the feedback directly. So we were understanding it, how we were using it, how the customer is using it, and then translate it back to the larger team which is behind. So that direct interaction with customer is very important, and it needs to be done by the senior members of the team and not the other ones. The execution on the product side can be done by them. And between product building and getting customers, I think the toughest part is the customer interaction role and getting the customers. We used to think initially as technical software developers that building the product it's all about building a product and things will happen. It doesn't happen. With the experience and wisdom now I have after almost 17 years of ProHance journey, is that building the product is maybe 15 to 20%. 80% is your marketing, sales, customer management, and all about it. That's where the real effort is there in your entire life cycle of your organization.
Yeah, it's very well put. Extending the same theme of the team, you mentioned that you have operations across the globe. So when you have a team that is multinational, how does this then pan out? That is, one is the connect with the customer. And from that perspective, how do they carry the same ProHance experience irrespective of the location? And second is getting the feedback back to the teams.
So here also, Shiv, the interesting thing which happened with us on how our leadership team got built. So after the initial phase where we were close to 1 million mark, we had around 10, 15 paying customers, and it became clear that this is a product which can work. Now the next phase is how do you build a scalable team and a scalable organization? Now things don't need to go beyond you as co-founders, as seniors. And here we were lucky, and I think luck also favors where people see value. Most of our leadership team got built from our customer base.
Okay.
So we had ProHance deployed in various customer places. Many people who helped roll out our product on their side, after a few years on their own, they approached us and they said, we want to become part of ProHance because we see what you're doing, something as meaningful and impactful. You see, all in their careers in organizations, corporates, do have that little bit feeling of restlessness or being able to do something which provides more meaningful for them, or what they do, they can see the impact directly, which happens in a smaller company like ours. So if you see, our entire leadership came, or I won't say entire, but at least 80% came from organizations who were ProHance customers, who had used it themselves, were familiar with it, and then they came on board. And for us also, it was important to get now industry leaders who knew more from the customer angle. So, as internal co-founders and leaders, people who had started the organization, we had brought it to a certain stage. But now to take it to the next level, you needed external industry leaders who had that experience to scale the organization to the next level. And with luck, they already knew about ProHance. They knew how it was being used on the customer angle. So they brought a very different flavor to the organization than what we had. We had internal experience and how we rolled it out to the customers. Here were people coming from the other side, having used our product, how it was rolled, how it was impactful on the customer side, and then they came it and they became our leaders on business facing teams, our customer success team, our implementation teams, marketing, sales is where they brought in. So there was a big continuity and a connectivity in the organization and between the product internal and the external facing functions. And that's how our organization has really grown. So my here, if I would want to tell other entrepreneurs is, if you're doing something impactful and meaningful, one of the biggest validation will come from people who use it, not in just giving you feedback, but becoming part of your journey. If they become part of your journey and they say, I want to be what you're doing, and they have, I think nothing can validate your idea more than that.
Nowadays, no conversation is complete without talking about AI. Right? So how do you see AI's influence on both the roles you talked about, the traditional project management and how tracking metrics and having all those things, that whole the approach of managing, how is AI, do you see influencing? And the second part is, how do you see AI influencing how ProHance has been developing products or for your future roadmap?
Definitely, AI is a big wave and it's here to stay. A lot of waves have come earlier, and this is one of that. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest waves. I was also a skeptic, like many others, a year, 2 years, that we've heard this coming, that coming. Will it be like that? But AI seems to be very powerful and it is here to stay. So with a couple of years when we were also struggling on where do we use AI, how does it impact us as an organization, how does it influence the product, we were struggling. Customers were asking us a couple of years, what's your AI strategy? What's your vision of the product on the AI front? And to tell you the truth, we didn't have much answers. And that's when we got together, all of us leaders, and said, hey, we've been asked this question and we all don't have a great answer. It's not giving good comfort to our customers. So when nobody knew about AI, what do you do? So we started with small experiments and started building some AI related features in our ProHance. And other thing, what we said is we mandated people, especially leaders, to start using AI in their day-to-day job to whatever extent it can be done. Because if you don't use it, you won't understand it. And may not be what AI you use directly into the product, but you'll get to know what AI is all about. So start, making what we started making, beautifying your emails, right? Starting generating some PPTs, which can be done much better. So those give you a better idea of what AI is all about. And then the ideas also start flowing in and what can be done on the AI front. So one is we have mandated everybody in the organization to use AI in whatever form it has to be done. So there is the implementation team using AI in some way, the account management, sales, and the developer, the technical team doing AI in a different. So they are using it more for their development of code or test cases, whereas the others are more using on building collaterals or beautifying whatever content they are generating.
Hmm.
That's one AI change in the organization which has come. And we are tracking AI usage within the team. And we're saying everybody needs to come with ideas on how their job can become better or where AI can be used within their jobs or the work which they do internal. Second is the influence on the product. So we have now brought various, I would say, AI-centric features in ProHance
Hmm.
after a lot of brainstorming. For
Yeah.
example, in ProHance, we have work data, how people are working, what are they doing, how well they are engaged at work, right? Is somebody overworked? Is somebody underutilized? Is there an opportunity to cross-skill people based on what work they're doing? One of the big insights which we now bring through ProHance is there a possibility of some employee attriting or leaving the organization?
Hmm.
So attrition is a big problem in our industry. Somewhere 15 to 30 to 40% people are leaving and new people joining, the training costs. So we said we have a whole lot of data with us, and AI thrives on data. And what data ProHance has is called definitive data. It's a data which
Yeah.
is very rich, and it's not somebody's imagination, it is the truth. So can we train and look at work patterns and see and learn from past people who left on what was their data? Is there a possibility of this person maybe getting disengaged and leaving the organization?
Mhm.
And if that can be flagged to your managers and HR, can we prevent and reduce attrition so that you're able to retain people faster? Your cycling of people gets reduced, and obviously it helps the organization in a bigger way. So we brought this attrition prediction module within ProHance, which has been received very well in with our customers. And other obvious area which we have worked is how do you get better insights on what information you already have. So you have a whole lot of reports available in ProHance. Now we have built a co-pilot on each one which says, tell me more about this report. Explain to me.
Okay.
Can you give me some insights on what I am seeing? Can
Hmm.
you give me some recommendations from your point of view and from different personas and interpret this report better to me? So what was earlier a simple static report with some charts, graphs, which maybe somebody had to explain to you or I had to look at it and try and draw some inferences, that automatically is getting done through AI embedded
Okay.
in these things. So this is now taking the product to the next level because it
Hmm.
is now something, a flavor which required expert manual intervention earlier, where our team coming and looking at the data, building reports, building insights, and presenting to you. Now it's just available to you directly in the product. So in a nutshell, I think AI is really like a wave moving forward, and urge everybody to be part of it and just see how it goes. Take baby steps, and then it'll tell you what more can be done as the future unfolds.
Yeah, this is very good. In fact, one of my favorite templates in all these reviews is this the what, so what, now what format. I think what you described, since you have the validated data, the what part, the so what, and the recommendation of now what, which may still need a human to decide. I think that
True.
kind of fits in nicely. Yeah. Um, yeah, I didn't realize how long we've been talking, but I should ask you definitely one question. With your analogy of the torch walking in the dark, when you have only this much visibility, and with so many things changing and a lot of confusion being there, are there any personal practices that help you stay grounded?
Personal practices, one comes from your background. Like I said, always keep your what you can say earlier experience and values grounded, your middle class values, you can say. See, as an example, when we built this organization, we were very clear that we wanted a profitable organization. We never wanted growth at all costs, which typically you see happening many places.
Hmm.
So within 4-5 years of us starting, we became a debt-free organization. Obviously, we were bootstrapped. We did not take any external investors' money. So we ensured first we became debt-free, then profitable. Let it be even a small profit, but a business is for profit. So we never said we will not actually pursue growth at all costs. We will always be profitable. We will ensure that we run the company with the same values with what we run our own lives. So how do you spend your money, how you conduct yourself in your personal life is same thing should happen in your organization itself. So that is one of the values in the organization which was liked when our private equity partner came in and they said, we like the fact that you are frugal, you don't just go and overspend, you are having a great eye on profitability, and whatever growth you do, you keep that in mind. So just being true to who you are is important in your work. Sometimes people behave differently on the personal front, while on the professional front, they apply different yardsticks. For me, it's important that you treat professional work and your anything you do on the professional front same as what you do on your personal life. That keeps you grounded. So that's I think one of the great things is define your values and just stick by them. Ensure they are always in front of you, and ensure you drive them down in your organization also. So another great value which we brought into our organization was ownership of outcome. So we wanted everybody to own the outcome and not be just focused on effort. A lot of time people say, I worked on it, I did this, I have sent the email, I have called him 3 times. That is not what we're looking at. How will you now ensure that the outcome comes? That means the end result, and own that. So if your eyes on that, then you will behave and work in a different manner rather than just trying to do some effort. And this was driven right from top to bottom. And we said it's not necessarily for seniors, even the junior most trainee, whatever work you are given, you have to ensure that you know what is the outcome you want and you are delivering that. So never come back and tell, I worked in the night, I did this day, and all those are not important. That is secondary. First is, have you been able to deliver the outcome which is expected from you? And once you start thinking in that manner, I think your approach to work and how you deliver also changes.
Sounds simple, but I'm sure it takes time to internalize.
True. Yeah, you put it very nicely.
Yeah, on that note, thanks a lot, Rajesh, for sharing your perspectives from your heart. I can see that these are all lived experiences that I could relate to a lot of these things in many situations. I'm sure our listeners would love this as well.
Thank you very much, Shiv. And if with one line, if I would leave is, I think most people, I believe, don't achieve what they should is only because they don't start. It's not because they don't have the intelligence or they don't have, the knowledge. It's just they don't take that one simple step or take that courage to take that first step to get started. I think that is more important than looking at certainty or trying to make long-term plans. So my parting, I think, sentence would be that, just get started and that will now show you the way and take you in very different directions which you never thought you would go.
Wonderful.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.